Hello, and welcome to Boomer and Beyond Wellness. I'm Angela Fischetti. So today's session was absolutely inspired by a recent podcast show interview I did with Healthy Lifestyle Solutions with Maya Acosta. And I have to say that I hold Maya dear to my heart, and all her hard work and efforts for the whole food plant exclusive community and beyond, and spreading the word of natural health. And she is just a wonderful influencer and a health coach. So I strongly suggest that you watch her shows, her episodes, and just participate in her functions, because there are many and they are diverse. And it's very exciting to know Maya and to watch how she has blossomed. We did a show, I guess, about a year and a half ago, what have you, and she wanted to follow up. And part of the conversation actually was inspirational for me to bring back this particular routine I worked on quite a while ago, and I call it sleepy time yoga. It is restorative yoga to help one sleep. And why I decided at this particular time period, I just think that people are really on edge about a lot of different things. And it's also an edgy time because we're dealing with this high heat index throughout the world. And just with that alone, people are a little bit overwrought. And I'm all about lifting the weights and jumping on the rebounder and all that. But we also have to have balance to balance it out. And we need to have the downtime. We need to be able to focus our attention on our breath. We need to do gentle, deep stretching and really conscious movements. So this is why I decided, let's do this again. So part of what goes on here with restorative yoga is that it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's also known as rest and repair. But interestingly enough, it is also known as rest and digest, right? So yes, before yoga, you do not want to eat for a solid 2 to 3 hours. And part of it is this process to allow the rest and the digesting to go on, which does give you an indication that there is most definitely a gut-brain connection and all that wonderful microbiota that goes on in both areas. I do, and this is myself included, I know a lot of women and women who have contacted me by way of the videos, etc., and talked to me about being insomniacs and really having a hard time sleeping. So my suggestion is, when you do this particular practice, to do it in the evening, to do it really before you would like to go to sleep, just to calm everything down. And what yoga does in general is helps fulfill 3 of the pillars of lifestyle medicine, according to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, ACLM. And this would be exercise, because yoga is exercise. Now, I have to say that this is not Ashtanga yoga. This is not power yoga. This is the complete antithesis for those of you who are new to restorative yoga, but yet there is still some movement, and it might be an up level for some of you who are not doing any exercise at all right now. Also, a pillar of lifestyle medicine would be restorative sleep. This is to help you with this. And also stress management. So just understand that this approach can help you cover all 3 pillars. Now, the accessories we'll be using today. Well, I'm sitting up on 2 yoga blocks, and I'm doing this on purpose for those who have knee issues. So I'm going to lift my butt here, and you see those yoga blocks, they're stacked on each other. And this really helps. The higher up you are, the less compression on your knees, right? Also, if you have a latex allergy, do be aware that typically yoga mats have some amount of latex in them. So you want to look for latex free or non-latex. If you have any back spine issue, perhaps you've been told not to come into a forward bend, not to to perform a forward flexion of the spine. And this can be attributed to, but not exclusively, osteoporosis. And also, if you've been told, with osteoporosis in particular, that you need to minimize your twisting. Well, you know what? I do understand that, and I will abide by that, and I do, okay, when I teach and work with people privately. But do understand that you don't even think about it when you go to turn and twist. Let's say you're at your kitchen table and you're just doing a little twist and reach to grab, I don't know, whatever condiment is at the other side of the table, or you're washing your dishes, doing a little bit of this rotation. So you're going to work with a shorter range of motion. That's perfectly okay. Also, if you're medicated or not for hypertension, if you have vertigo, GERD, if you're pinched nerve at the neck, rotator cuff muscle issues deep within those shoulders, carpal tunnel syndrome, and I'm going to tell you here and now that this position of the hand and wrist is contraindicated. No matter the position of the arm or forearm, it's about the wrist and the hand. That's wrist extension. Even here, it's wrist extension and like that. So pay attention to the modifications. And also, if you've ever had a TIA, transient ischemic attack, or a stroke, I'm going to ask all of you, and not just exclusively you, because there are a lot of chronic issues out there. I'm going to ask all of you to please preview the video first before participating. But I'm going to ask you something else, to please broaden your perspective and begin to look at movement, at exercise, from the perspective of looking for what you can do. We, those of us with chronic issues, and a lot of people have been dealing with them for decades, particularly in the age brackets that I work within, and being 65 years young myself, I am my own demographic of work at this point in my life. And we're really great at knowing what we cannot do and saying no to. And it's great because it's smart and we're protecting ourselves. But we've gotten very linear and very narrow with the perspective, I find sometimes. So please, once again, look for what you can do, even if it's for one yoga posture or one stretch you can take out of this. Little by little, when you watch the videos, you can be able to create your own personalized exercise or movement protocol. But if you're still unsure when you watch the video, well, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview the video as well, and then help you make an informed decision. So now let's begin here. So I am actually in a posture called Virasana, hero's pose. So when you sit, and whether it be in a chair, on the floor, up on your blocks, place your hands underneath your buttock flesh. You pull the flesh straight back first, then out wide toward the shoulders. I kind of wick it out. The reason for this is I want you to sit up and forward on the front edge of your ischial-tuberosity. In yoga, we call this the sits bones. Now, having said this, placing one hand on top of the other, right hand on the left, unite the tips of the thumb tips to each other. Let's just close the eyes and take just a few moments to center ourselves as we begin our yoga practice. First and foremost, focusing the attention on the breath. And the breath in yoga is done in and out through the nose, if possible. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Allowing the shoulders to drop heavy away from the ears. Lifting up and out of the low back. Lengthening both the front and back spine. And then sending energy up and out the crown of your head, the Sahasrara chakra. And we're connecting earth to sky through the simple act of sitting. And then please bring the palms together in front of the heart, creating a mudra. A mudra is a hand gesture. And this is called Anjali Mudra, the mudra of the angels, as we inhale through the nose. Exhale out the nose. Inhale. And exhale. We're taking an internal scan of the body. And just notice any areas of discomfort, distress, or tightness without any judgment. And inhale, send the breath to that area of discomfort. And as you exhale, visualize the discomfort leaving the body. Inhaling the healing. Exhaling discomfort. Inhale the healing. And exhale any tightness or stress out of the body. And then perhaps focusing your attention on someone you may know, or maybe just somebody you've heard of that could use some love and light. And plant this image in your mind's eye and in your heart. And if you are presented with what you might feel is a challenging asana, a challenging posture, then offer up your efforts to the importance of this personal intention, personal dedication. Inhale. And exhale. Now let's slowly open the eyes, lower the hands down, and let's take some nice big shoulder rolls, up, back, and down, up, back, and down. One more. Nice. And now I'm going to slowly come off my blocks, and I'm going to set them to the side as I swing my legs out in front. And now, because my knees were really hyper compressed, right? They were hyper flexed, I'm going to straighten the legs out and slip my hands underneath the knees. And let's push the calf flesh down toward the ankles. Notice I'm not going above the knee. I'm going from below the knee. Why? Because I want to open up the meniscus. I want to open up the tendinous attachments of muscles at the knees. Then I'm going to windshield wiper from side to side. Now we're going to come into a seated wide angle pose, Upavishta Konasana. So what I want to do here is let's do that butt flesh. And here we go, adjustment. It actually will help you place your posterior pelvis into proper alignment as well. So now, for some of you, sitting in this position will make you do this, right? It will just happen. Why? Because of tight hips, tight low back, perhaps tight adductor muscles of the inner thighs. So I'm going to suggest you do what I did in the beginning, sit up on a block or two, because the higher you are, the more gravity takes you and allows you to go out wider and open up these hips. This is an external, a lateral rotation along with hip abduction, stretching the adductors. So you can sit up tall like that. Now, for some of you, you might be sitting up tall, and because these knees are going to be popped off the floor, this is when you're going to take your little hand towels, fold them up, and you could put them underneath the knee so that your joint is always supported. So you're going to see here in restorative yoga that we do a lot here with the props. Now, for some, you might not be able to hold your spine up nice and erect. So that's when we use your yoga strap, right? And yes, so we're using folded towel, yoga blocks today, a bolster, a cushion, the mat. Now, with the use of the yoga strap, and why I prefer it to belts is because for some of you, there's arthritic hands, Dupuytren's contracture, trigger fingers, very uncomfortable to hold a hard belt. So this is soft. It's 8 feet long. Now I'm going to push down and out and pull with my strong bicep muscles because I'm allowing the elbows to flex, to bend right away. The bicep will get recruited. I see a lot of this with yoga straps in class. So we want this, allowing you to sit up tall. For those of you with back spine issues, this is how I prefer you and postural deviations to do this particular posture is with the strap. For the rest of us, I'm going to show you a really cool way of working with a block or two. It depends. Now, you can bring the blocks out in front. Let's say you're working at level 3. And the same line as your shoulders, you press down to lift the chest up. So if you want to work with 2 blocks, you go for it. We have level 1, level 2, level 3. Remember, you can use any of those levels. Now, I'm going to use level 1. And I'm going to bring the block a little forward. So now I'm going to begin that forward flexion. I know we were going to go down into a forward bend, but I don't want to think about it that way. So what I'm thinking is that I'm actually forming a back bend in a forward bend. Why? Because I'm lifting up and out of that low back. The lumbar spine has a natural lordotic curve, as does the cervical spine at the neck. So by keeping the chin up, I am actually allowing that lumbar spine to work with me rather than against me, right? And it doesn't matter if you get to the floor or not, folks. It's not the destination. It's a lengthened spine. So I'm slowly taking it forward. Now I have a big old 4x3 dry erase board in front of me to help me out. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see the block here or not. I suspect that perhaps you won't see the block at some point. But each time I'm working on lengthening, breathing into those back muscles, letting the scapulae open up, those shoulder blades. Using the breath. And then I'm going to walk the hands in, taking the block with me. Notice I come forward to go up, right? I don't round on up. If you round up, you want to be conscious about how you round up. Now I'm going to set that momentarily to the side. And from here, we're going to draw the legs together. Now, whenever you do a forward bend, you want to make sure that by keeping the head up, it's actually helpful for those of you with medicated or not for hypertension. If you have vertigo, GERD, always keep the head up on the forward bends. Now, from here, I'm going to come into butterfly pose, but I'm not going to flutter. I know a lot of people like that, but fluttering is really more of a kind of a ballistic approach. So I'm going to hold on to my shins. So this can happen a lot in butterfly. I'm going to show you from the side as well. So there's like this collapse, right? So it's almost like you're doing this sort of abdominal crunch that's pulling you back. And so what we want to do is use the strong arms. We are presenting the chest, depressing the shoulders. And I'm going to play with this a little and rock from side to side because I'm making sure I'm really contacting that ischial tuberosity I spoke about, those sits bones. This is excellent, folks. For those of you dealing with piriformis muscle issues that have to do with sciatica. So it's a nice movement, excellent for the SI joint, sacroiliac joint, keeping the heart center lifted, shoulders down. So you'll find that in restorative yoga, you don't do a lot of poses, but you hold them. That's where the That's where the beauty is of the posture, that ah. Now I'm going to go into butterfly pose. Now, for those of you with back spine, you're going to stay upright. I'm slipping my hands underneath my ankles to take a hold of the top part of the foot. That is the dorsal side of the foot. Now, inhale, lift the head and the heart. I'm really actively bending the elbows toward the ground. Exhale, I lengthen and pull the heart center forward. Diamond pose. Now, I'm going to ask you again, do not lower the head, but a way that you can self-protect with that is you can take your block, grab it from underneath if you have that flexibility, and then rest your forehead on the block. So we're not dropping that head down. You know how with GERD, you can have that acid reflux. So we don't want to lower the head down. But for the rest of us, you will not bring on any of the issues I mentioned just by doing the movements. Hold here. Oh, it feels so great to lengthen that lower back. Breathing into those back muscles as well. Keeping the head up. And inhale, palms down. Exhale, lift the chest and chin. Slowly come on up. We're going to bring the hands underneath the outside of the knees. Slowly draw them together. And the knees were a little bent, so I'm always going to err on the side of caution here when it comes to knees and yoga. We're going to push that calf flesh toward the ankles. You can tap, tap, tap if you want, or you can windshield wiper. Now, I'm going to swing my legs over to the side here. And I'm going to place my blocks down. And we're going to come into cat-cow. But look at the hand placement. What did I show you at the beginning? Carpal tunnel. We have a way for you to work with your wrists, all right? So I'm going to set this to the side for the moment. And I'm going to make what I call a soft fist. This is a hard fist. This is like fingernails biting into your skin. We don't want that. So it's a soft fist. Then you work on this flat part of the hand. We're lining up knees to hip joint. We're lining up wrist, elbow, shoulder. We want to push the ground away. Now on the inhale, I'm going to tuck the toes under, drop the belly down, so I'm creating a bit of a back bend, and then draw the heart center forward, up and back, widen the shoulders, lift the chin, except TIA or stroke. You want your head a bit more neutral rather than lifting. Hold here. This is a spine extension known as the cow. Now on the exhale, I'm going to keep the chin up. Tuck the buttocks under first. We want to round the spine, basically coming into an abdominal crunch on all fours. And lastly, lowering the head, except hypertension, vertigo, GERD. We want to keep that head up a bit. So this is spine flexion, the cat. Flatten the feet if you wish. And then inhale. You can keep your feet flat. You can work with tucking them under, flattening them out, whatever works best for you. Inhale. Nice and controlled, slow movements. Exhale. Let's do one more of each. Inhale. And exhale. We want to hold here. Now from here, I'm going to flatten my palm down, or you know what? I'm going to stay like this for those with carpal tunnel. A lot of people have that. So I'm going to swivel at the hip and knee and extend my leg, my opposite leg out. Now let's look for the alignment. Wrist, elbow, shoulder, knee, hip, ankle, and fist. Same line as this hip joint. Now, I'm going to use this hand, my right hand, underside of the left ribs, and self-adjust. Open up toward the ceiling. Now, if you have pinched nerve or rotator cuff issue, you might need to keep your hand to your waist. Otherwise, I'm bringing the arm up. I'm going to vigorously reach up and then over, pushing the hips a bit forward. This is a lateral flexion of the spine, but it is also known as Parigasana, closed gate pose, connecting the energy from the right middle finger to the right big toe. Hold here and breathe. We are stretching those beautiful intercostal muscles between the ribs, responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. And now we're going to lower back down. But before I do the other side, you can stay right where you are. I'm going to turn the other way. And this time, I'm going to show you with blocks. All right. Again, not for carpal tunnel, although you could work with blocks this way. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Remember the cautionary measures I've already discussed for some of you. Hold here, keep drawing the belly button up and in. We want to work that transverse abdominis, the deepest of the core. So you want to visualize the belly button coming out, the small of the back. This is your internal girdle, your internal corset. Some of you are too young to even know what either of those things are. Now I'm going to move this block out of the way, and I'm going to turn here, make sure I have my space, clear it. So we want block, same line as the coxal joint, also known as the acetobulofemoral joint of the hip, same line as the ankle, the opposite ankle. Left hand to the ribs, right ribs, and spiral the heart up, hips forward, arm up, again, pinched nerve, rotator cuff. Be careful here. And breathe. Connecting the energy from the left middle finger to the left big toe. And you know, if the belly pooches out in this position, who cares? Doesn't matter. Just let all that stuff go. And breathe into Parigasana, closed gate pose. And now from here, I'm going to gently lower back down. And I'm just going to always take every opportunity I can to do a couple of cat-cow, because spine flexion and extension is so marvelous for you. And one more. Now from here, I'm going to come into what's called embryo pose. Knee issues, you might want to put blocks behind you, or you can stay upright a little bit more and put a block underneath your forehead. Embryo pose. Reaching out to sit back. Oppositional movement in yoga. And then we slowly come up. Now I'm going to come back into that Upavishta Konasana, that seated wide angle position, because I want to tie in now a spine rotation. So we've done spine flexion, extension, and lateral flexion. Now I want to tie in rotation. And what you can do is you can work with blocks for this if need be. Now, for spine rotation, I want to talk to those of you with back spine issues and postural deviations. I want you to keep your movement small. Just think you're forming a little circle, but notice I'm actually doing a spine extension of the low back, spine flexion, I should say lateral flexion, now spine flexion, lateral flexion, spine extension, lateral flexion, spine flexion. Got it? So now I'm going to get rid of these. And I just want to open up my hips and my back. Just let it be very free flowing. And it's really called a Sufi grind. And it's wonderful to kind of root your seat into the ground, especially if you're having maybe some security type of issues. I don't know, finances, the roof over your head. These are things that keep us awake at night, right? So it's really good to get into your root chakra, Muladhara chakra. We're sitting right on it. And now let's have you bring the legs together. Again, shake it out. Now from here, I want to set up my bolster and a block. And what we're going to do is show you how to roll down onto your backs. Now, this is going to be, because we're doing some spine flexion here, I want to tie in spine extension for you. So this is going to be to help you with a back bend. But because of the previous issues I've mentioned about keeping your head up, that block is going to be set there for you to catch the back of your head. All right. So we're going to learn about how to come down onto our backs. I'm going to get rid of this because I actually want my head to drop back. So there's 3 ways you can do this. You can, and I'm going to put this real close to me. You can hold on to the back of your thighs, feet firmly planted, and they are hips to shoulder width apart. And you can roll down. So what happens is you want to form a C curve to then begin to come down onto your back. All right. Otherwise, you can hold on and you can lower one elbow at a time to get you there. Lastly, if you feel you have a stronger back, a stronger abdominal area, then legs straight out in front, C curve, palms face each other, head down. And now we take our time to slowly roll down, just adjusting my bolster because I want to open all of this up. I want to take that counter position to all the forward flexion that we did. So you have an opportunity here to really kind of relax the abdominal organs and intestines, yet giving yourself a little bit of a supported back bend. It feels quite lovely after the forward flexing. And you can play with how you want to put your feet. You can put your feet flat on the floor with the knees bent. For some of you, you might feel this is a little bit more of a back bend, a little bit more of an arch in the back. And breathe. Now, some of you might have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and you might have to work with pursed lip breathing. That's perfectly okay. Now you can also bring the soles of the feet together and the feet pretty close toward your groin in goddess pose. It's also known as Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining cobbler's pose. But we're adding Salamba. Salamba means support. So again, we're in a lateral external rotation of the hip. Plus, we're tying in a bit of hip abduction for stretching. So if you are very, very hungry before you do a yoga practice, I would say have a very water-rich piece of fruit, probably some type of melon. I wouldn't even have a banana. If you need to, if it gets too much here with this stretch at the groin area, particularly for the men, you could put your blocks underneath your outer knees to support your thighs. So it's a little bit less problematic for you. Now I'm going to tie in my arms up and overhead, and I'm finding a particular tight place on everyone, but more so as of late on females, would be the pectoralis minor. So how you want to do this is bring your arms up into flexion and then just slightly open the arms a bit and hold there at that angle, and you will stretch that pec minor. Opens your heart center. Maybe you bring your arms out wider and lower. Now we're with the pec major, front deltoid. Relaxing the body into the bolster, just letting everything go. And then sliding the hands to the outside of those thighs or knees. You press the feet together. Inhale, exhale, close those knees in. Now I'm going to roll over onto my side. In yoga, we talk about rolling to your right. I have to tell you something. It's 2023, and I look at this and I go, just roll over to whichever side you feel most comfortable. All right. So now what I'm going to do is turn this bolster this way, and I'm going to drape myself over the bolster. So just relaxing onto it and placing one hand on top of the other and turning my head to the side. This just feels so delicious. Allows that body to release everything. Just let it all go. Maybe even slightly pulsing the hips from side to side. And make sure you turn your head in the opposite direction and put the opposite hand on top. Just releasing that low back. And then I'm going to slowly come back up, moving this out of the way. And now from here, what I'm going to do is come to the wall. Now, for some, this is called Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. And for some, you might need a bit of a cushion for your back. See how you feel. So I'm going to first test it without the cushion. This is the beauty with yoga. You can change, right, based on how you feel. So how you want to bring your legs up the wall is you get yourself super friendly with the wall, as close as you can. And then you're going to pivot and swivel. I'm going to use my arms and my feet and just inch myself closer to the wall. And this is a nice, beautiful hamstring stretch, the back of the thighs. It'll stretch your calf muscles. You can bring your arms alongside you. You can bring your arms across your belly if you like, whatever makes you feel lovely. And this is truly a restorative pose. Excellent for hypertension, for insomnia, for varicose veins. It's a very gentle inversion posture. Now bringing the hands in Anjali Mudra in front of the heart, an expression of gratitude and appreciation for our good health. And again, appreciating our bodies working so hard for us. And continue to send those in need love and light. The light and spirit within me honors the light and spirit within you. And this translates into the word Namaste. And at the end of each class, we bid each other Namaste.